Welcome to Around the Fire, a space for conversations to nurture hearts and build lives following Jesus, thinking more deeply about big ideas and how to apply them. Hello!
Hello, you're very welcome. That was Sarah, I am Jonny,
Hiya.
and we have a very special guest with us today.
Very special guest.
So I'm not going to waste too much time. Let's cut to the chase. If you've got a question or you want to know what's going on, podcast at elimlifechurch.co.uk. We would love to connect with you or help you where we can with that. And you might have some questions today in response to, hopefully, the life-giving conversation that we're
no pressure
have.
to our guest.
But
Sat across the table.
I know, yeah, he's sweating now. But we are joined by James Spencer. Welcome,
Hey.
James.
Hiya.
James is the head of church partnerships for Compassion. Compassion UK, what's the correct way to frame that?
Yeah, we're Compassion UK.
Brilliant.
So we're part of Compassion International,
Yep.
but we're a
The
charity
UK
in
bit.
the UK in our own right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. James has helped us as Elim Life Church over the last couple of years work out what our partnerships and connection with Compassion UK looks like. And we're going to talk about maybe less specifically what that is, but who Compassion are and what Compassion do and all of that fun stuff. We're going to get to that. However,
hang on a second.
before we do that, just to help everybody feel comfortable with James before he leads us with all of the professional skills that he has, we just want to get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
And a little bit of, we think, helping people understand a little bit of who you are helps them build that bridge between who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And that there's probably significant parts of your story that have fueled you kind of doing what you do now, and why you've chosen to not do some of the things that perhaps you were doing in previous professional iterations, and perhaps what's drawn you more to working in the third sector, and the high fives that you get for that instead of perhaps the high wages. But we'll talk about that another day. So Sarah is the curator of fun
Yes.
around here, and
Come
so
on, let's go.
defer to your questions here.
So we just love to find out a little bit about who you are. So James, tell us a little bit about what is either your favorite food of all time or your current favorite food?
I think I love all food. I'm a real foodie, and I'm really not fussy. So
You are welcome around the fire and around the table.
I like a little bit of everything, but I think mine and my wife's favourite food is Italian. We had our honeymoon in Sardinia.
Okay.
And just like the simple, like rustic, great
Proper.
produce, great ingredients, Italian. That's
Yeah.
our
your go-to.
glass of red wine.
Nice. Oh, that sounds amazing. I want to go and get like a bowl of pasta now.
Yeah.
Can we?
Haven't,
No? All right.
haven't been
okay.
invited for dinner. I'll just put that on the podcast, but yeah, fine.
Okay, so keeping on with the favorites. What's your favorite film of all time? If you could only watch one film over and over and over and over again, what would it be?
Well,
And why?
my family would say, because I say it all the time whenever we say, what films should we watch? They would say it's The Martian. I don't know why, but that's my kind of go-to
Okay,
film.
yeah. It's a
great
My
film.
wife's is Erin Brockovich.
Yes.
And
That's a
great film too.
Both good.
We take the mick out of each
Nice.
other because that's the only film we ever suggest. My favourite film growing up was
Yeah.
The Karate Kid.
Oh, wax on, wax off.
Yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Miyagi,
Miyagi,
all
yeah.
day.
Nice.
I've seen it. I'm actually in a Karate Kid WhatsApp group with
my
a couple of my mates because we were
That's
just
so good.
super obsessed.
That's like another level.
Yeah,
that's
I'm-
fun.
I don't know whether I'm impressed by that or not. But I think I am. That's amazing.
Feel free to pity me as well. That's,
3 minutes in, we're learning things. So yeah.
James, I'm a Doctor Who fan, so the
Yeah,
pity goes
yeah.
both ways. We're all
Yeah.
good. Okay, and then my final sort of question, I guess, around the favourites is, apart from Sardinia and your honeymoon,
Yeah.
which has been your sort of favourite holiday location?
So I love mountains.
Okay.
I had the privilege of going skiing when I was a teenager, and kind of caught the bug. So I skied a few times as a teenager, then didn't ski for more than 20 years. But on my 40th birthday, my family and I went skiing, and I introduced them to skiing. Now they've all got the bug.
Wow.
And it costs a lot of money, but it is just being up in the mountains, just looking out. It's just awe-inspiring,
Yeah.
and I love being active and busy, and that's my
Yeah.
kind of holiday. So
Is there like a favourite run that you've done, like a favourite mountain or slope that you've kind of skied on?
yeah, so
If that's the right terminology.
yeah, so
Panicking, yeah.
It was a little bit.
there's a bit of a biblical link. So 2 years ago, we went to the Three Valleys in France, and in the town that we were staying in, there was this really long, like easy run all the way back to where we were staying, and it was called Jerusalem. And so that was my favourite because it was in the shade, so it didn't get kind of melty or slushy in the afternoon. So at the end of the day, you could just kind of glide back down this really long run all the way.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was,
Fun.
so good.
Oh, really good.
Nice.
Amazing.
I want to go skiing now.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to because I went as a teenager, but it didn't turn out as nicely as your stories.
Didn't inspire passion, no? Okay, good. Running or skiing?
Skiing.
Really?
Yeah.
So you run because you have to. And
I
ski
saw
'cause
you
get
running
to.
the other day.
I'm
I
so
saw you
sorry.
running by Plansford School with your
so sorry.
with your waistcoat on.
So I don't get run over. Yeah.
I was on my bike.
Oh, okay, there you go.
With my waistcoat on.
We should have. I'm sure there was a nod in both directions. Okay, good. Out of that, we maybe are starting to hear some of what's shaped and influenced you, but where you feel safe and okay to share with the internet. Give us a little bit of your faith journey, a little bit of your, what's your mountain range with Jesus? What does that look like?
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
How have you glided into faith? I was going to go,
Well
but
done.
you can have that one.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a pastor of a church here in Birmingham. I've got Christian grandparents. I think my great-grandparents on one side were missionaries.
Wow.
And so I come from kind of Christian stock. But I struggled with the whole notion of faith growing up. I never really embraced it. And when I was about 15, my parents said, we're not going to force you to come to church with us anymore. It's up to you. And I was like, great.
Decision
thank you very much.
See
you later. Hello, Lions, on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I never really kind of arrived at a place where I didn't believe in God. But I definitely arrived in a place where I thought, God, I don't think I need you. And unless you show me something really incredible that blows me away, I'm just going to go and do what I want to do.
Right.
And you're free to interrupt me if you want to, but I'm doing my thing. And so that was the mindset I had for a long time. And I guess I felt I grew up in the church I grew up in was quite a conservative church, and to my kind of young eyes, the people in that church were perhaps a little bit boring.
Right.
And I thought, well, if I've got to become a Christian and become like these people that I'm surrounded with, I thought the price of that was pretty high for me. I wanted to go and do what I wanted to do, and all the things they were kind of saying, or I felt like they were saying I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And so, I just had this probably 10 years where I didn't, I think other than on Christmas Day and a wedding, I didn't set foot in a church. And just kept that attitude, like, God, if you want to show me something, I'm all ears. But there were a few things that happened in my mid-20s. And there was always this lingering thing that I tried to ignore all the things that my parents had told me growing up. But there was this one lingering thing in the back of my mind, that verse from Jeremiah, that says, you'll seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. And from time to time, I just had this whisper in the back of my mind saying, you haven't sought me with all of your heart. And I got to a point in my life where I guess I grew up thinking like God either exists or he doesn't. And I thought, well, actually what I'm doing is I'm sitting on the fence. And so I'm definitely wrong.
Right.
He either exists or he doesn't. So I thought, right, I want to answer this question because I want to get rid of this little niggly voice in the back of my mind, and I want to kind of, pitch my tent in whatever place. And so I thought, well, just because I grew up in a Christian home doesn't mean Christianity's the right thing. But I thought, you know what, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to explore atheism. And this was just around the time of the kind of four horsemen of Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens. And
it had like a culturally cool moment, didn't it?
Yeah, so they really came to the fore and were, really prominent voices in that time. And I particularly loved Christopher Hitchens because he was so clever and articulate with his words. So I read Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, and I was kind of reading it thinking, I like what this guy's saying, but then he got to talking about Jesus, and he started, when he was talking about Jesus, something really jarred with me, and it just wasn't the Jesus that I'd been told about as a kid. And his perception of Jesus was just very different to mine. And he used this example of Jesus only wanting salvation for the people of Israel, not for everybody. But the part of the Bible that he was referring to was right before Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, this guy, what he's saying isn't right. And I just felt really conflicted. And it was about that time I met my wife, and we were getting married, and she just had this really quiet, confident faith, and that really disturbed me. And just really challenged me to go, and so to seek things. And then as I started just more actively seeking God and faith in that season, God just started revealing himself in really incredible ways. I walked into my granddad's house, and I had that notion of God showing me a miracle, and he was watching a TV preacher on the God channel, and it was like the guy looked down the camera lens and said, "You want to see a miracle? Be a miracle." And just completely flipped the script on my thinking about, actually, I wasn't waiting for God, God was waiting for me.
Wow.
And so I started to say, okay, God, well, you'll have to show me what that looks like. What do I need to do? And just these little prompts of the Holy Spirit just started saying, well, how about you do this? And as I followed that, these incredible things started to happen. And I just went on a journey, and God's been doing a work in me ever since.
So good.
It's amazing. So like, as you were re-embracing faith, but you're a very different person 10 years on, right? And so you've had a life experience that is different. What, as you started to re-engage that idea of God and Jesus and faith, what really helped you to follow Jesus through that then? So you had this picture of what it looked like as a child, then a season kind of out of that, and then you come back to it. What helped you as you were coming back into that place of embracing faith for yourself?
I think you don't realise all the formational stuff that happens when you're a kid, do you? And a lot of that, the church I grew up in was a great church full of great people, and lots of people really sowed into my life without me really realising it. I think a lot of that stuff really came out when I started exploring faith again. And I think also I started kind of listening more broadly and became more aware of different styles of teaching and preaching than I was used to. And I kind of connected with a lot of stuff just about the goodness of God and how much and how merciful he is and how much he loves you. And I guess I kind of felt like there was a performance element that you had to be this really great person, and I just kind of leaned into this "come as you are" kind of thing, and that really helped me in that time, because in that 10-year period I'd made a lot of mistakes, and I'd hurt myself and I'd hurt other people, and so more so than ever I needed God's forgiveness and God's grace. And so just leaning into that space for me was really important in that season, that it wasn't a heavy kind of religious Christianity. It was a gentle. And I remember one of the kind of really significant moments was that thing you do when you're new to faith, you open a Bible randomly and you just read a verse.
Please, Lord, speak.
And because of where I was at in life, I really felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders in that season, and I opened the Bible to Matthew 11, and where Jesus says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, for my yoke is easy, for my burden is light." And I literally kind of physically felt this weight lift off my shoulders, and for God to just come and meet me where I was at. And just walk with me on a journey, and it's been a real journey. I've had to unlearn lots of things, and I'm still learning. I've still got a long way to go. But just that was the kind of beginning of that journey, and
this sort of expanding and more expansive picture of who God is as well, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
So you, 15, go on your own adventure, and then 10 years-ish, decide, I'm going to find out, and then I'm in. And then you are, from that point, doing your best to faithfully and obediently follow Jesus. Great. And I think people who maybe don't know you would assume, they go, oh, yeah, okay, I can see where this is going. 2 + 2 is making 4, and I get it. And that wasn't quite your professional adventure. Talk to us a little bit about, you haven't always worked for Compassion.
Yeah.
And you are very, from what I know of your story, you and I have spent some time together over the last couple of years. And from your story, as I understand it, professionally, very capable, lots of opportunities, career headed in a positive direction, lots of good things available to you, skill set that could have taken you to many different directions and places. Yeah. But just a sense of that wasn't the right path for you to walk.
Yeah.
And so you transitioned a successful progressing career into a different version of a successful progressing career.
Yeah.
Give us fill in some of the blanks on some of that and some of where professionally you've been prior to getting to where you are today.
Yeah, so I moved to London with my parents when I was 17, really reluctantly. I didn't want to go. They'd left the church here in Birmingham, and it was quite a painful thing that happened. And so they went to London to pastor this church, and I stayed there, and I was miserable for a couple of years. And the first opportunity I moved back, and the condition was that you can move back if you get a job. And so I literally walked in a job centre and said, give me a job, I don't care what it is. I want a job.
Yeah.
And they sent me to this office in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham to meet this guy. And it was an unsalaried, commission-only job selling security alarms door to door around Birmingham. Wow. And I was like, yep, I'll take it. Yeah. Great. Wow. And so there I was in the middle of Quinton, I think, on my first day with the guy. I said, yeah, go and knock on the door, tell them about it. And I knocked on all these doors and ended up, I think, on my first day making a couple of sales. And I liked the buzz of that. And within a few weeks, they gave me a check, and it was more money than I ever comprehended in my life at that point. And so, I just followed that kind of sales career. Ended up working for some quite big companies, kind of looking after their major key clients, and kind of being a bit more relational rather than transactional in what I was doing. And then latterly, last couple of roles, I was a sales director. The last job I had, I was working for one of the biggest security companies in the UK. And it was a great job, well paid. I was kind of leading a small part of an enormous organisation, so I was kind of left alone.
It's your ideal, isn't it?
Perfect. It was the cushiest job I'd ever had in terms of account, because I was there to do something, and as long as I didn't do anything really stupid, it was like. But because I'd already started my career when I came to faith, it was quite early on that I thought, well. And my dad had worked in the construction industry for 20 years before he became a pastor, and so that kind of trajectory was already kind of a little bit in my mind, and so I kind of said to God, well, I'm a Christian now. Do you want me to go and do this or do that? And I felt God a number of times just say, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to stay where you are. And I had a few episodes where I really felt like this is what I want to do, and I remember going on a website of a charity that do something similar to Compassion, and praying out loud to God, say, God, I would love to work for an organisation like this. My parents had sponsored children. We'd done that as a family since I was very little. My mum we sponsored Sergio in Guatemala. And my mum could never pronounce his name. So when she was praying for him in our morning prayers, we'd all be rolling around on the floor because she'd get his name wrong every single time. And so that had been something, and when I got married, and I really leaned into that kind of sponsoring a child as part of our journey as a family. And then when our kids came along, we kind of leaned more into that. And so there was this desire and this sense building there that I guess God was saying to me, yeah, you're not imagining this different future, but I've got a work to do in you first, and there's a purpose to the process. And so I did another 12 years after I became a Christian in the corporate world, with all the highs and lows and challenges and difficulties that can bring. Sometimes also a better salary as well. But,
Some of the benefits.
Yeah, that's why they call it compensation. But then it just came to a point, and I had this kind of moment where I turned around to my wife and I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. And my wife just turned around to me and said, well, okay, I think you should go to university. I'll go full time, and we'll sort it out. And that was the conversation in a second. I had to go off to work. I was on a training course. I was staying over somewhere. I phoned her back that evening, and she said, I found the course for you. And I thought, right, okay, yeah. And she found this course, and I signed up to do it. I looked at other courses, but just kept this was the right one that she found for me. And because I was going to be kind of more kind of studying part-time, looking after the kids part-time, I needed a part-time job with a bit of flexibility. And so I was on my way to becoming an Uber driver, I'd work a few nights and do things that way. And I just said to my wife, I'm just going to have a look in the charity sector, because I don't know where this studying is going to lead me, but maybe I might end up in the charity world. And I felt really okay that I didn't know what the end was. Right. I didn't have a 5-year plan. I knew I was meant to study. And I saw this advert for what turned out to be Compassion. Didn't say it was Compassion at the time. Now, my home church, I'm part of Sutton Baptist, and when I joined the church, there was a volunteer for Compassion in the church who at every coffee morning, every cake sale, every church event, he had his Compassion banners up, he had his profiles of children. And this guy was named David, and he was actually my granddad's business partner. Oh, wow. I never really knew him. My granddad retired when I was a year old, so I never really knew him. But I knew his name, and I clocked after a while that, this is that David that might
link the two together. Yeah.
And so he kind of indoctrinated me into the Compassion kind of mission statement and their vision, and I really had bought into that. And so when I saw this advert that said, "Do you want to release children from poverty in Jesus' name?" I was like,
yes, I
wow.
do. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. So, and it was a part-time role initially, and it just, with the studying and the family and all of that kind of stuff, so literally the same week I started at Compassion and started my university course that week. That was 6 years ago. So I did my 3 years of study, and I've been full-time with Compassion ever since, and it's the best job I've ever had.
Amazing.
So it's just been incredible to go on that journey, and actually what's been really interesting is a lot of the things that I learned in the business world, a lot of the difficulties that I went through have really helped me in this job.
Great.
And we get a lot of really passionate people come to work for Compassion that haven't got that hardened experience, and I think it's been easier for me in lots of ways to do the job that I do because I've had that experience. So God knows what He's doing, and I'm really grateful that I didn't kind of jump, or He didn't allow me to jump too soon or go into something before I was ready. It's just been great to serve this organisation, and it's the only organisation I've ever worked for that I'm more passionate in year 6 than
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was on
That's,
day
a good
one.
sign, eh?
that says something. So
Yeah.
for
That's a good
people
sign.
who, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, James. But for people who perhaps they might know a little bit about who Compassion is and what they do, you sort of gave a little bit of a tagline away there.
Yeah.
But maybe for people, so some people in our community would know it well and would understand, but perhaps for people who are a bit like, oh, I've sort of seen it. Maybe they've been to a Christian festival or
Yeah.
they've been to a conference and they've sort of seen a banner. Tell us a little bit about what Compassion is, what it does, and then maybe your role in that as well.
Yeah. So, Compassion we're a child development ministry, and we work in the majority world. We work in 29 different countries, and at the moment we're supporting about 2.3 million children,
It's not wild.
and we work almost entirely in areas of extreme poverty. So that's the most severe kind, the kind where it's children are unsure whether they're going to get a meal that day, unsure whether they're going to be able to go to school, probably won't be able to see a doctor if they get sick or get medicine. And so really lacking the absolute basic fundamentals in life. And Compassion work, and the thing that I love most about Compassion is they work in partnership with local churches. So we find local churches in these communities and we just come alongside them and help equip and empower them to be the hands and feet of Jesus in their community.
Yeah.
And they are able to run child development programs, register children into this program, and just support them in felt ways, in any way that they need, and also support their families and their parents and beyond that. And it's just a beautiful thing to see the impact that actually what we would feel is really something quite small, the impact that has, but actually the impact of hearing the gospel and just coming and encountering Jesus and experiencing his love in felt ways and seeing the transformation that comes in the child and then seeing that ripple out into the family and the wider community. So it's a holistic model that the local churches use. They want to meet children's kind of physical, emotional, spiritual and economic needs.
Yeah.
And so really any challenge that the child has, Compassion want to help that church meet that need and serve that child so that they can become everything that God's created them to be. And we have the privilege of so many incredible testimonies of people that have, it's not just their lives have transformed, but they've gone on to impact so many people around them and just have that heart to give back what God has given and invested in them. And it's just really beautiful to see, and a real privilege to be a part of that ministry. And I guess in terms of my role, so I get to so we partner with churches in the what we call frontline, where we work in the communities that we serve, but we also work primarily with churches here in the UK and in other nations in the global north as well. And my job is just to connect churches and the people in those churches, and just hopefully inspire and invite them to come and be some part of our ministry by praying, by investing in some way, and just by just encouraging others and endorsing what Compassion are doing. And so I get the privilege of just really getting to connect with churches and journey with them, and seeing the church leaders be really blessed by seeing people kind of step into something that's beyond themselves, that's really investing into justice and mercy, which is where the heart of God is, but stepping outside themselves in terms of generosity and faith and giving faithfully. I was at a church on Sunday, and it was the second time I'd been at this church. And this lady came up to me and said, I want to tell you a story. You were here just over a year ago, and my husband put his hand up to say he wanted to sponsor a child, and he signed up and he sponsored a child. I wasn't actually at that service that day. I wasn't very well. And when he brought this profile home, I was really angry at him. I didn't have a job at that time. We were in arrears on our rent, and we were really struggling financially. And but after sitting down and calming down and talking it through, we decided, okay, God, as an act of faith, we're going to step into this, and we're going to trust that you've got provision for us. And she said, I just want to say that today we're in a new house, a better house. I've got the best job I've ever had. And we both believe that it's because of that moment, that act of faith that we took in doing this.
Yeah.
And actually today we want to sponsor a second child as well. So yeah, it was just amazing to see. And I get the privilege of just connecting with people in churches and just hearing their stories and their journeys. And it's just amazing to see. And I guess I love of course, the impacts on the front line, but I love to see the transformation that comes in the people that choose to invest in our ministry and what it does for them. And actually, often they give with a heart that I just want to help somebody else. But what they come to find out is that there's a real blessing back from God for them. And I love seeing that, because I love it when they're surprised by it. And they've just given in faith without, I'm not giving to receive. I'm just giving because I feel God. This is my identity.
Expected a benefit back.
But just hearing those stories, and I've seen people who are very elderly kind of invest. I've seen people who are on universal credit and really struggling. I've seen a young couple that, they want to buy a house, they want to get married, they want to do all these really expensive things, and see them actually say, no, this is a priority for us. We're going to go ahead and do this. And it's a privilege to be able to see people kind of take those steps on that on their own little journeys. So
it's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think so I've been aware of compassion for quite a number of years, and when I was a student, me and my friend, we couldn't afford to sponsor someone on our own, so we did it together, and that was our kind of start of a journey of understanding who compassion was. But I think Jonny and I have had the privilege of going to Uganda and seeing some of these partnerships in local churches and the way that a church community serves. And I think that's one of the things I hadn't quite picked up or realised, how much of it is partnership with churches in both, like you said, in both spaces. So on that development side, in local communities, but also in other places that are perhaps releasing resource, and how the stories of the individuals' lives that are impacted in that make such a difference. But I don't think I had quite understood how much of it was around church partnerships, on both sides of that, really. And so to see that, and for us as a community here to experience that in our way as well, I think that's been so powerful. And I think it says something about that picture of what the church is, right? That global picture of the church. If a compassion to be in that space to help foster some of that and facilitate some of that. It's amazing.
It's massive. And I think we're going to take the brain break now, but when we come back, we maybe can talk about some of those next steps, some of what's available to people, and some of how perhaps you find communicating to people exactly what Sarah's just described, that there is maybe some misconceptions around what this is or what the methodology is, and the reality then of actually what you're partnering with and what that looks like. So we'll go to the brain break, and then we'll be right back with what you can do about what you've just heard.
Look.
Come on.
Very good.
Come on. Have a
See you in a
stretch.
minute.
Welcome back. I hope you've had a good stretch. We are excited, informed by some of James's story and some of who Compassion are and how those things have come together to find out what we can do about it. So we have got proper questions, but it feels helpful maybe take us where you want to take us in terms of, we've heard a bit of what your response to that awareness of like, hey, this might be something that I'm in and around, and there will be others who feel similarly, but then there will also be people who are like, that's not the call of God in my life, but I want to be involved, I want to be a part, I want to understand what that is. So across that range of options, take us where you want to take us, James.
Yeah, I think we want to invite as many people as we can in to connect with our ministry, and for some people that means that they can invest something financially. Not everybody is in that place, and that's okay. We really want people to pray for our work. There are so many challenges that we're facing around the world, and so many places that are struggling in lots of different ways, and places that don't really make the news
Yeah.
Right.
very much these days. And that's not to try and be disparaging about the things that do make the news. They are important things, but we don't get a full picture. And so I think just leaning into places, especially that perhaps are off the radar, I think is a really great thing to do, and just to be praying and interceding for those places. And I think just leaning into, again, some of the things that Compassion do are around sponsoring an individual child. We have other ways. So we recently launched a Gifts of Compassion. So you can give a gift on behalf of somebody else, or do it for yourself. And you can do that as a regular monthly gift. You can invest, or you can do it as a one-off, and you can invest in different parts of our ministry. So if you've got a heart for healthcare, you can invest in something to do with medicine or a medical intervention, or if you've got a heart for educating children, you can invest into different parts of our ministry to help serve in those communities, to help them do that. And so, yeah, I think there's lots of ways that people can invest. And of course, we rely a lot on volunteers. And so we have people that volunteer for us. We were just at a big church festival. We had 320 volunteers with us there. And it was amazing time. And so, yeah, we want to continue to build an army of advocates for Compassion. And so people can, if they haven't got financial resources to give, perhaps they might have some time that they could give to serving us in different ways. And so, yeah, we'd love to connect with anybody that wants to invest in our ministry in some way, but doesn't know how. I would just really encourage them to pursue that.
What's the best way for people to do that?
So all of those things are available on our website, which is compassionuk.org.
Bro.
And people can go in and have a look and find ways to connect in with us, or even just find ways to keep updated. We have a newsletter called Prayer and Stories that goes out, and that's just an invitation. Hey, here's some things you can pray for, and here's some really great stories that have come out of our ministry in recent times that we'd love to share with you.
Great.
And that could be a great starting point for people.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I think stories are so helpful because it makes it real. You know, the story of somebody's lived experience in a part of the country or a part of the world that I would never get to visit or go to, and yet I'm able to be a part of their story with my prayer or my giving or my connection. I think those are really powerful kind of moments. And obviously on social media, you share what you're able to as well. So I think we will put some links and things into the show notes, or well, producer Andy will, because he's brilliant at that, please. And so that's there for people, to be able to connect with.
Great. We will, I'm going to do my best now. Maybe we haven't planned this, but looking at the questions that we've got, that are good questions, but I'm going to do my best to weave some of what you do for Compassion in amongst some of the rest of who I know you to be, in that, yes, we want to give people a big, clear next steps on Compassion, absolutely, but I think there is more to you than that, and you are somebody who loves the city that you live in. You are raising children here, you are part of a faith community here that you love, and you are seeing thriving and involved in all those fun things. You are a leader in your own right, but then working that out with other people. This is not a leadership podcast, praise the Lord, but like it would be a missed opportunity for us not to lean into some of how you do what you do, irrespective of for where it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
So I think just there are some repeating themes that a lot of us with the privilege of overseeing communities or the privilege of decision making, aware that there is an atmosphere at the moment. There is people perhaps feel they're tense, or that time is moving differently, or they're acknowledging change is happening rapidly. And maybe we'll start with perhaps a bit more of a cliched question, but in leading, so you are leading volunteers, you're leading staff, you're leading in a faith community context, you're leading in a household context, you're leading in, up a mountain, down the mountain, you name it, you've got something to do with it.
With his skis on.
With his skis on, skis off. What helps you do that really, really well? What does healthy leadership look like in you and from you? And how are you doing that across all of the things that you're involved in?
I think for me, I think I'm really tempted with lots of cliches now, but I think something that's been in me for a while is if you want to do anything well, if you want to be your best, you have to bring your best. And so just thinking about ways of just considering how am I investing in myself and my family in the right way? How am I spending my time? And so just being, just challenging myself at all times, looking forward, looking back, and saying, okay, where am I spending too much or too little time? Where am I there but I'm not present? Where am I not working with excellence? Where am I doing really well, and how can I replicate that in other areas of my life? And so just that notion of just reflection and leaning into spiritual disciplines as well. So we've been, as a staff team at Compassion, we've been doing the John Mark Comer practicing the way stuff. We've just finished the Sabbath one, which I was actually absolutely petrified about because I'm not a great rester, and I've never really done Sabbath properly. They use the term Sabbish, which is like. So I think just leaning into those things, like just grounding myself and recalibrating myself back on Jesus all the time. And just taking those moments to stop and reflect and listen.
So let's lean into that a little bit. Sorry, I'll cut you off, but that I think is really interesting. And what I know of you work really, really hard and at a really, really high level. And you've told us, probably in part because if you're on commission only selling alarms door to door at 17, you got to work quite hard. And then this fear, to kind of use your own language back to you, of like, but if I stop, what happens in the gap? Or like, is it okay for me to take time to, square quotes, do nothing? And I know that's not the I don't want to ruin the ending for everybody, but like, talk to us about your experience of that, because I think that would be really helpful for people.
Yeah, I'm sure there are other people who feel similarly.
Can't stop, like shouldn't stop, like what's going to happen if I'm not hyper productive and at it all the time? What's been your experience of stopping?
Yeah, so definitely in the corporate world, I went through seasons where I worked far too much, didn't really understand the concept of rest and proper rest. My pastor, I was chatting to him a while ago, and he said if instead of using the term rest, use restorative. So what's restorative?
That's really good.
And I found that really helpful, but I would say in the corporate world, I didn't have any real notion of what that looked like, particularly Monday to Friday. It was you did what you needed to do and you worked as long as you needed to work to get the job done, and you could have some time off for the weekend, and that was it. I think with Compassion, you've got. I work a lot of Sundays now, and sometimes I work on a Saturday, and so there's, as you guys in church leadership know, there isn't a kind of set weekly structure, and so you have to be more intentional about that. And so for me, it's about just thinking about and carving that time out, but actually in doing things like fasting, doing things like silence and solitude, in doing things like scheduling a regular retreat day I do it every half term, and just have a time where I love nature, so I just like being outside. So I'll just go for a really long walk. I'll walk for 3 or 4 hours, and I'll just be open to what God is saying to me, and I'll just process, or God will be processing loads of stuff with me and in me in that time. And I just find that so helpful. And actually, I can come and then be a better version of myself when I get back and when I deliver that. And that's something I've really been learning and leaning into these last few years, and I've found that really, really helpful in terms of in terms of my own kind of formation. And I've really had this kind of sense of God drawing me into a place of excellence. And what does excellence look like? And I think sometimes in the church we're afraid of words like that. But when you reflect back on something and say, was that really excellent, what I just did there? It's a really hard question to ask yourself, because most of the time the answer's no. But do you know what? That's where God is, and that's where God is calling us into. And so when you reflect on things like that and you say, God, I don't know how to do that, but I know you can. So I'm just going to have to draw more and more and more into you, and help you shape me and form me and change me into the person that I can be in the future. And so, for me, that's really, that's definitely a journey I've been on. And the Sabbath bit is very new and
a bit newer. Figuring that one out.
and it's probably the one I'll struggle with, just doing that every week and finding it. And of course, working weekends for those people who work weekends, you can't do it in the traditional way, so you've got to find ways of making it work for you. And making it work.
Reminding yourself, like, it's almost like that recentering thing, isn't it? Of like, actually, if I stop being productive, it reminds myself it's not all about me anyway. And I think so finding ways to do that within a busy life is really interesting, and because it might not look like it can look like for someone else, because you might not have the same time or opportunity, but just that principle of coming back to realizing, actually, Jesus has always been about you and you are in charge. And I remind myself of that. I think that's often that invitation of Sabbath, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was really interested when you were saying about those spaces and disciplines to kind of keep you moving forward with God. What happens, and only share what you feel comfortable, but the world that you work in, there are things that don't go right, and there are painful realities for lots of people in those worlds. How do you keep yourself healthy in that? Like, how do you navigate perhaps some of the disappointments or the challenges of working in that third sector space?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult, and when you get situations like USAID being just cancelled, that's 40% of all international aid just switched off overnight. When that decision was made, we had the leader of our work in Ethiopia, who was over in the UK, an incredible guy, and say there are children and caregivers in compassion projects in Ethiopia that had just had their HIV antiviral medication cut off, no access to it, and it's really, really hard to hear those things. And I think my reaction when I really see poverty and difficulty, my first reaction is anger. I get really angry about it, and but I allow God to just maneuver that anger into a place of this is why we've called organisations like Compassion into this space, so they can step in and lean in. And however difficult I find it personally, I always also think of those pastors and project directors that are on the front line in the churches where they are facing situations that I just wouldn't know what to do if I was in that place. And so I've got I've got a sense of also that I'm in the privileged position that I get to come and share and encourage and inspire more people, and out of these difficult situations, God can do incredible things, and God can turn lives around and do all those beauty for ashes things that only God can do.
Really good.
And so I just feel like the response is to lean into God, and just remember that none of these things are a surprise to Him.
Yeah. That's really helpful.
And He's not. God is not kind of panicking when difficult situations occur. He's still on the throne. He's still there, and just to take that moment to recenter and recalibrate and keep going. I'd long for the day that compassion call me up and say, "Sorry, James, we don't need you anymore."
Yeah, there's no need for that word. Yeah.
But until that day comes, I want to keep doing what I'm doing and keep serving in any way. But actually, it's God that does the work. It's God that does the transformation, and we just get to join in and play a little part of
Nice.
that. And that's a real privilege.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Nice.
Just sort of to follow on from that, like, what are you seeing God doing at the moment that's like perhaps encouraging you? So we are aware that some of the context of people's lives are really, really difficult. You're working in places of extreme poverty, but just are there things that you're seeing God do, like with that big picture overview that perhaps you have with an organisation like Compassion that would be helpful for people to see or hear or understand?
Yeah, I mean, I think for in terms of kind of big picture stuff, just seeing that Compassion have got a real heart at the moment for innovation, and just seeing some of the work that's going on in that space. So in Uganda, we're working with refugees for the first time and equipping local churches to serve into refugee communities. That's not what Compassion have historically done, and some really incredible things are happening out of that. In places like northern Ghana, we're leaning into working with the parents and caregivers earlier in the process to help equip them to be able to earn a better living and upskill them and equip them, and join cooperatives and do microfinancing and all of this kind of stuff. And Compassion have been doing that stuff for a while, but there's a real move to accelerate it, in particularly in rural areas, because often when we work with the children in those areas, the children really progress, but sometimes the parents,
The family don't.
get left behind a little bit. So just some of that work is really exciting. But I had the privilege of going to Bolivia in November last year. And I think the thing that really blew everyone away that went on that trip was seeing how the church were impacting community. So we went to visit a number of church plants in these really rural places, no roads, no infrastructure, no running water, no electricity in these homes. And these churches from nearby were coming and planting a church in this community, and people were flocking to it. Wow. And there was, firstly, because there's literally nothing else. There's nowhere else to go. There's nobody else that seems to care in these communities. And yet they plant these churches, and that you could almost see the transformation before your eyes. But within that, there was a level of discipleship, particularly with the children, that I'd never seen before. Just that we're here to serve you. This is the church saying to the children, we're here to serve you and help you, but you are responsible for helping and serving the person sitting next to you as well. And so there was this real heart, and we had 5-year-olds come and lay hands on us and pray for us. And you could see, the 8-year-olds ministering to the 6-year-olds. You could see the teenagers showing the younger ones, great examples, being great role models. And then there were kids that are men and women that had left the program that were volunteering back in their local church. And these guys had their own businesses, but they were so passionate about serving and helping these kids. So you could just see this kind of this real heart for serving one another in the church. And it was just so beautiful to see that, and to see what God is able to do through his church, and the beautiful people that are leading these churches and serving, the project staff, the volunteers, and the kids that are just so full of faith and just so leaning into the promises of God. It's just incredible to see, and when we get to hear stories like that and experience them firsthand, as I've had as I've been able to, it's just really incredible. And that's what keeps us doing what we're doing, because God is doing incredible work through his church. And when I worked in sales before, in the corporate world, often you'd paint a slightly rosier picture of a product than perhaps you was the reality.
That's a very nice way of saying that, James.
Yes, but in Compassion, actually, we fall short of the impact of what it is God is doing through his church in these communities. I don't have the words or the storytelling capabilities to be able to do it justice. And we work really hard to try and do that and try and share that and create great media and ways to try and showcase what it is that Compassion are doing. But actually, as you guys have seen when you've been and visited it, you see something that you weren't expecting when you get there. And I mean, that's such. I'd much rather be in that place where I know that I'm actually selling short what it is that we're doing than overselling and under-delivering. Yeah. Actually, we need to get better at communicating what it is that God is doing, because it's absolutely incredible.
Brilliant. We're nearly at time, so I need to ask you the question, what haven't we asked you? And what did you come ready to share, to give away that we haven't set you up to win? And then if there's nothing, great, well done. And if there is, that's fine. Please do that. That is the opportunity. And then if you could pray for us as you feel led, that would be brilliant. But yeah, what haven't you had the opportunity to share or say or recommend or point people to, or any of that fun stuff?
That's a really, really good question. I think you've done a great job.
Covered
guys.
all the bases.
Oh, thanks, James.
We will sleep tonight.
Yeah, you've definitely not missed any open goals or anything like that. So yeah, thank you. No, it's been really great. It's been a real privilege to be able to come and share with you.
And if you are listening to this, then hopefully you've already connected with James, because you are coming on Sunday this weekend to come and share with us. If you've missed that will be available online. I get to say the bit that you can't say of yourself. James is an excellent communicator, and so if nothing else, it will be worth your while connecting with what he brings. And he's also at this point, it's happened. So what he has come to do is to say thank you for those who are sponsoring, update those who are maybe looking for some awareness, and then provide an opportunity for people who are looking to get involved. So, and those things remain true if you listen to this now. Thank you for those who are already partnering. James would love to connect, maybe not personally, but signpost you to where you can get some more information. And then there are always ways that you can be involved in what Compassion are doing. So
yeah, I just want to thank you guys as well. Compassion can't do what we're doing without people that support us. Our supporters are incredible. And another thing that I love is our supporters are overwhelmingly made up of just everyday people that are giving sacrificially and really wanting to see the gospel brought to the ends of the earth. And we couldn't do it without church partners like you guys. So yeah, just want to say thank you for partnering with us and putting your faith in us. It's a big thing. Often people can feel dubious about giving, particularly to charities that work overseas, and so it's really important that we have great advocates and church leaders that endorse us and encourage us. and churches that are really fully behind what we're doing. So bless
great.
you guys.
Amazing.
It's great.
Brilliant. James, lead us in prayer.
Yeah.
And then I'll close us out.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity just to come and to spend this time together, just exploring our stories and some of the questions that we ponder as we walk this walk with you, Lord. And so, I just want to thank you for this church. I want to thank you for Elim Life Church. Thank you for all that they're doing to honour you, to serve your people for your glory in your kingdom, Lord, and see your kingdom come here in this place. And so, we just invite you to come and continue to journey with people as they walk with you, step by step, day by day, seeing people change and transform more and more into your likeness. I love what it says in Ezekiel about God giving us a new heart. And so, we just pray that as our hearts are transformed, we are just transformed to be more and more like your heart, with your heart for justice and righteousness, your heart for the orphan and the widow and the foreigner living amongst us. And so, we just pray that you would just make us more and more like you as we walk with you on this journey, Lord. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, James, so much for being with us. And we're now going to look to this camera. Look at this. So it's so smooth. We're going to say goodbye to you all. But before we do, please check out the show notes for any of the links if you want to get connected with Compassion. If you've got any questions or feedback, then get in touch with us, podcast@elimlifechurch.co.uk. This is definitely one of those episodes you want to be sharing with others and sending to people. So please do that. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.